Hello, everyone. I'm Tyler Rosado, and this is the DIVA Checkpoint. This is your go-to stop for bold insights, big vision, and real action from leaders across Circle K International. Each episode, my guests and I unpack what's happening, what's next, and how we're showing up to lead, with plenty of fun and maybe a little drama along the way. Without further ado, let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the DIVA Checkpoint podcast, Season 2. I'm super excited to have you back once again for another exciting episode. This week, we have one of my favorite Kiwanians, and you'll hear why in a bit, but spoiler alert, it has to do with some sweet treats, but also a lot of other efforts. I'm talking about Miss Joan Campbell. Joan Campbell, affectionately known as Miss Joan by the High Point University Circle K International chapter, has served as their Kiwanis advisor for more than 3 years. A dedicated member of the Kiwanis Club of High Point, Miss Joan has discovered her why through her work with the students at High Point. Over her 25 years as a Kiwanian, she has served on multiple committees, faithfully supporting her club and community. However, it was the day CKI members came to volunteer at the club's annual Pancake Day that truly changed everything. She fell in love with their cheerfulness and their immediate willingness to serve, doing whatever needed to be done, from wiping tables and serving pancakes to even refilling the dreaded sticky syrup containers. As she got to know the students individually, Miss Joan watched them grow in confidence and leadership. Through fall calls, mid-year conferences, and international conventions, she has met countless students with hearts just as big and spirits just as friendly. Collectively, their dedication to service continues to inspire her and reaffirm the purpose she has found within the Kiwanis family. Miss Joan is definitely one of the biggest CKI allies here in the Carolinas District, and so I couldn't be more excited to have her on the podcast today. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Well, hello, Miss Joan. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Tyler. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being on the Diva Checkpoint podcast with me. I think it's really great to have not only such a proud and fierce Kiwanian on, but also someone who is such an active CKI advisor. And I want to start there. Tell me a little bit about how you ended up in the CKI advisor role at High Point University.
Well, our club sponsor, my High Point Club sponsors CKI at HPU. And there was a day, it was pancake day. It was busy. We were dragging. We were a little understaffed. And then splendid youth walked in with big smiles, didn't care how I assigned them. I fell in love with the CKI immediately. It was an instant connection. I assigned them to clean tables, serve on the line, flip some pancakes, change out the sticky syrup bottles, which is like the worst job. They didn't care. And they had another CKI advisor. And when she became president, when Catherine became president, she walked up to me and said, "Would you like to be the CKI advisor for HPU?" And I went, "Yes." I have told my club that I'm the CKI advisor at HPU until I die. And my next moment was when they made me CKI advisor of the year. And then they gave me an honorary membership. And I snuck cried for like an hour. Um, But when I went back to my club, the president then, Bobby Jones, said, "You need to bring the plaque and all their awards to the meeting." And I held up the award and said, "This means we'll be baking cookies and brownies for fall call again until the day I die." And we've done it ever since. We love them. They come to visit our club on a weekly basis. There's usually one or two of them, depending on finals or whatever. And that we couldn't be prouder of them with their amazing Miss High Point U pageant. I really wish other schools would do it so then we could compete against each other for like Miss CKI. Um, Look at you nodding your head going, "Yeah, we need to do that." They've raised $100,000 in 4 years, which is just mind-blowing for the Brick by Brick project. They work hard on it. They're already talking about next year's event. They will have it pretty much scoped out and ready to rock by the end of this upcoming semester. And then they'll get to it as soon as they come back together and they'll talk about it over the summer. Um, and when they're at Pancake Day, you can watch my club go from we've been up since 5 o'clock, we're ready to rock, and then they walk in and it's magic.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I know, especially for us at NC State too, like our Raleigh Kiwanis has their pancake day, and it's always one where I think sometimes we hesitate, like, man, are people really gonna get up this early and go like help with pancakes and everything? But every year, we always come and it's never even a problem. It really is, I think, for CKI members, one of our favorite events to come help with Pancake Day. So I'm glad that the experience is the same over at High Point. And yes, I had the privilege of being one of the judges for this past Miss HPU pageant. And it really is a tremendous event that to anyone in our district listening, or even people outside of our district who just happen to be in the Carolinas around the time of year, I would definitely encourage you to see the pageant because it really is like I always say it's a crown jewel of the Carolinas district. It's just one of those signature projects that time and time again continues to impress. It always seems to set a new ceiling every year, and then it shatters that ceiling, and every year it's like, will it do it again? And it never fails to impress. And I nod my head about potential other pageants because, as governor, I'm in contact with all of our clubs, and I hear rumblings that other clubs are kind of exploring that idea. Of course, um, planning the pageant takes a lot of efforts that I'm sure you see from your members in your CKI club that you support. And I'm kind of curious, how do you balance being in the advising role and sort of being a support while also giving space for those CKI members to kind of learn and navigate things on their own?
I keep telling everyone I am their biggest cheerleader. If they ask me for advice, I will help them. But other than that, they do it all. They are learning, they're leading, they are amazing. And if they stumble a little bit, hey, that's part of growing up. That's part of learning how to lead. But they don't really stumble. I can't believe how many service hours they've done this year already. They're like way over 500. Um, way more than my club. Um, as a Kiwanian, as a Kiwanis advisor, the biggest thing anyone needs to do is just be there, be present, cheer them on. Bacon go cookies and brownies is kind of what got me into the getting my club to do fall call. But you don't have to take them brownies, though they probably would like it. Actually, that year, at mid-year, a bunch of kids from other schools came up and said, our advisor doesn't bake us cookies and brownies. And I was like, sorry. And that's when I decided I would bake cookies and brownies for fall call. Then I realized it was 80 people. And I was like, better get the club involved. So we are, and we love them. But the best thing to do is to show up and to have them show up at your events and your meetings. If you meet at breakfast, somebody from the EC or any member can come. We budgeted for two CKIers per meal to come visit our club. And they rotate through and they get to know us. We get to know them. And it's important because we want you all, when you're settled and paid off your student loans and are a little settled, we want you to become Kiwanians because A, you're the best already. So why wouldn't we want leadership? future people, great people who already know what Kiwanis is about, who already have servants' hearts, who show it all the time. The service hours from CKI for the number of CKIers is unbelievable. And you make an impact. We want that impact for the rest of your lives because kids need Kiwanis, kids need CKI, and basically, you know about Kiwanis and you know that we really care and that you're our future. And the future looks really bright from where we're sitting. I met someone the other day who I didn't know had been a key clubber. Didn't go to CKI. He was too busy partying and he went to school in the 70s. Um, but was he's a Rotarian actually. And he said he was in Key Club and we're having trouble getting a Key Club started after COVID again at one of our high schools. And he said he was meeting the principal that afternoon and he put in a plug for us. It's connections. It's where you go, where you've been, and where you can find yourself later on. The CKI alumni website is an awesome thing. It's a transition. There's young professional groups. So we want you to help serve. We need the help. And we cherish it.
Yeah, that is so amazing to hear. And I think I really love the idea of the advising role as a cheerleader. And I think, you know, for students in the CKI age bracket, that college age, that undergraduate age, I think there really is sometimes just the need for a cheerleader sometimes, right? Like, I think we have students that are passionate and willing to roll up their sleeves and figure things out on their own. They're not afraid to, you know, challenge themselves, maybe even fail and pick themselves back up. But it is beneficial and helpful and sometimes necessary to have that person that's like, well, I am here to offer advice or to just cheer you on. And so I think that's amazing. And I would love to know what would you say to any Kiwanians that are listening that are maybe on the fence about stepping into that advisor role? What would you say to them to kind of get them on the side of let's do this?
Winter break and summer break are the most boring times of my year. I miss my CKIers with all my heart when they're gone, when they're not in school, when I don't see them every Monday night at 7 o'clock. Somebody asked me once, what happened? I said, I fell in love. I fell in love with a group of people that care, that that I get more out of it than they get out of me. It's important to know that if one of them, they're at school, they're away from home. I happen to live like half a mile from the campus. If anybody needs me, their appendix burst, they're on their way to the hospital, I'm a lot closer than their mom and dad. I will go hold their hand if I need to. Knock on wood, I haven't had to, but it's a connection. And I've had graduates now. I've been doing this for, I think, 3 or 4 years. I'm still in touch with some of them that have graduated. They'll reach out and say hi, and I'll reach out and say hi, and we'll, find out what they're doing and what's going on. And it's important to know that it just doesn't stop when you graduate. You make friends. They gave me the honorific of Miss Joan. Cameron Southern girl, very polite. So she named me Miss Joan. It's important to know that if you're there and you really care, you don't just go. I've heard of advisors that go like twice a year. That's not enough. Maybe don't have to go to every meeting. I have, my daughter's grown, so I have no family right near here. So I can put the time in. But it's something I look forward to. So my advice is get to know them as individuals. They will amaze you. Ask how their studies are going. If they look stressed, tell them they can call you and scream. They're afraid they're going to fail. Really can't help them study like astrophysics or whatever because I'm not that smart. But I can be a sounding board. You know, who do you need? Because sometimes you just need somebody to talk you down or up. Um, just be there and bring a Kiwanis friend once in a while. If they want to have us, if your club likes to have speakers, my club's got a whole bunch of knowledge that they'll be happy to share. Um, I don't know, mostly be present.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that is half the battle when it comes to our CKI clubs, Kiwanis clubs, key clubs, everything across the board. I think there's a lot of power in just showing up, especially because we say it like it's casual and like it's simple as just showing up. But of course, we all have busy lives and, stresses of any given amount of things. But there is a lot of power in showing up, and I think you are a testament to that. And I know that the folks in our High Point Club and folks across our district really appreciate that you show up. And I want to switch gears a little bit here and talk a little more about the Kiwanis side, because I think, of course, we are so grateful to have you as a CKI advisor, but of course, the step kind of in the middle is ensuring that you are a Kiwanian. And so I would love for you to talk a little bit about, before discovering the CKI Club at High Point and how much you love working with them, what got you involved with Kiwanis itself?
Way back, I've been a Kiwanian for 25 years. It'll be 26 in January. And the club, a couple of the members of the club came to me when I was in the hotel business. I'm in the sign business now. And wanted to see if they could have meetings at the hotel where I worked versus where they were meeting because the food was getting disgusting. And I mean, really bad. And we did a trial, but I met them and they were very nice. And my way back then, more back in the 90s, more businesses paid for people's dues for civic organizations. And I asked my boss, I said, can I join Kiwanis? They're really nice. We're not going to get the account because we had a convention leave at the same time they were trying to leave. It took an hour to get out of the parking deck. People had to go back to work. So, but made the country club cook better too. Um, and I said, I'd like to join because they asked me to join. And they sponsored me. And I called my dad. My dad was a longtime Lion. When I called him to tell him I joined Kiwanis, he was like, why didn't you join the Lions? I was like, because it's three old guys. That's it. He said, if you're going to join a civic organization, do the work, just don't go to the meetings. So every time I'm tired with doing whatever we're doing, flipping pancakes, boxing up chicken, working in a garden, whatever it is, if I'm tired, I remember what my dad said. do the work. So I've done the work, Pancake Day, this, that, chair, ran some other events and different things. Always volunteer. Um, and I'm vice president of my club. Years ago, one of our members, Bill Horney, who was one of the founders of the Lake Waccamaw Boys and Girls Home and was on their board for 46 years, I found out the other day. 46 years. Time. Kept coming up to me every couple months and saying, when are you going to be president? When are you going to be president? And I'd say, I'm too busy. I don't have time. I said, and then one day I said, Bill, I have a plan. He was happy that I had a plan. He said, what's your plan? I said, when I get closer to retirement, I'll get back on the board and I'll work my way back up. And he was like, yay, you have a plan. So I just ended up on the board of trustees for the Carolinas district. So I have fulfilled sort of Bill's promise I made to him verbally and in writing. So I'll be president in 2 years and then trustee for another couple. But
Yeah.
you have to be involved. It's important. Don't just show up. Show up with an open heart, an open mind, and willing hands. And if you come up with a service project idea and nobody likes it, but you know it's the right thing to do, lobby for it. Say, this is why I want. Know how to speak, learn how to speak. And that's one thing CKI teaches people is how to speak in public, how to stand up for what you believe in. And Kiwanis is the same. We grow leaders. We grow leaders from Key Club, from Builders Club, terrific kids, all the way through. And our country needs leaders. Whether you end up running for governor or president or school board or just being a very civic-minded person and being a helping hand. Those are important. And every day it's more important. I don't know. Did that cover that?
Yeah. Yeah. Um I want to touch on that you are now are one of our district trustees for Carolinas Kiwanis. I had the privilege of being in attendance at the Kiwanis District Convention this year. So I saw you get elected, and of course, as governor of CKI, was very proud to see a CKI advisor being elected to the role. But I would also love for you to talk a little bit more about um, how you what guides you in that role and what does that experience feel like? Because I think for a lot of our CKI members, being in, whatever it is from presidents of clubs to district governors like myself or other members of our board or even international positions, I think that is something that encourages a lot of people to get involved. But it's also at the same time something where they kind of see it as an opportunity for growth and learning, which it definitely is. But maybe they don't have the context sometimes that those opportunities are still available to them should they join Kiwanis in the future. So I think talk to me a little bit about what you've experienced kind of so far into your term as district trustee and how that has maybe shifted your perspective as a Kiwanian.
My perspective changed. Now remember, I'm a 25-year Kiwanian. I went to international in Pittsburgh for the first time. I asked my club, can I go? And they were like, yes. I asked for the registration fee. They paid for my hotel and my gas and everything else. They wanted me to go. Most of them went to support CKI. My club said my big mouth was needed at international. Um, and then I saw more of a global picture and realized that the sphere of influence, just one little Kiwanian who could stand up and say, no, this is wrong. Or, wow, that's a great idea. Let's do it. That your voice is heard. They might not agree with you, but your voice is heard and heard. Because I did have a big mouth at International. Um, I was asked at International if I would consider running for Carolinas District Trustee. And I said, yeah, I guess I better. I keep an eye on my CKIers and my Kiwanis clubs. So this is my third meeting. It was the weekend. This weekend, I just came from the trustee retreat, and it was different than like a Zoom call. I really felt I was a little intimidated at the beginning when I sat down, and then I was like, no, wait a minute. I have opinions, and we had some great discussion. And yeah, I think I can make a little bit of a difference. You don't have to make a big difference. You just have to make a little difference. And if everybody makes a little difference, the world will be a better place. But it took me all this time to go from being a High Point Kiwanian, High Point CKIer, to spreading it out to district and then spreading it out to international. Now, I'm not going to Milan. Sorry, I am not going to the Philippines because I would like to go to the Dallas CKI Key Club convention instead. I'm not that rich, so I can't do both. And I don't want to fly for 19 hours. But if you can make an impact in one person's life, your whole life had meaning. If you can make one thing change, no matter what it is, your life was worth living.
Absolutely. And I really just want to reiterate kind of the sentiment there that you don't have to make as an individual a big change. If we all are making our little changes and we're all doing our little thing to make the world a better place, that leads to a lot of change when we're all doing our little part, right? And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think that is the power of all of our organizations across the Kiwanis family is that we're not asking you to change the world. Just change your little part and we'll take care of ours. And it's this mutual agreement, right? That we're all invested in the world and we're invested in our fellow neighbor and things like that. So I think that's really powerful. Of course, I'd love to keep chatting, of course, but we only have so much time on the episode. And I want to ask you, I ask all my guests, what is the biggest diva moment that you've seen, something big and bold throughout your time, either in your Kiwanis Club or supporting CKI, something big and bold that you've seen during your time in the organization?
I think the biggest, boldest was Christmas cheer from my club. We used to, when I joined, my daughter was Rugrat size. And the Christmas cheer committee would shop year round for toys, and they try and get wholesale pricing, and they're very good at it. And I think I was one of the youngest Kiwanians, and I had a young daughter. So the guys wanted a woman on the thing, especially with the daughter, to help buy girl toys. And we used to shop and deliver them. We have them all set up and bagged out by age groups. The DHS would give us lists of kids that needed Christmas. And then they started giving us lists that made no sense to who was showing up. But this one day, this lady came in and we had some American Girl dolls. And she got one and started to cry and said, I just got laid off. I don't know how. I didn't know how I was going to do Christmas for the children. And I said, ma'am, is there anything else you need? And she said, well, I need to go to the food pantry. Do you know if one's open today? And I said, I happen to have a collection of food pantry items in my car. I held that lady and we cried together for maybe 20 minutes. I loaded her car up and we cried. We cried together. We prayed together. And I realized that I could have just handed her a bag of toys and let her go through the line. But I took a moment. And if everybody takes a moment, maybe we can make a bigger impact.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that amazing diva moment. Definitely a great testament to our organization and the power that we have when we're not only serving our communities, but we are taking the time to see the humanity in our service. I think that is amazing. And thank you again for sharing all of your insights with us today on the Diva Checkpoint podcast. We definitely look forward to many more fall calls with brownies and cookies. I know that is definitely one of the things that I look most forward to as well. So showing up this past year and getting to sample them with you as we were waiting for attendees to arrive was definitely a treat. And we, of course, are so grateful for your continued support of the club at High Point. But thank you so much for being on, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you, Tyler, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you too.
Thanks for tuning in to the Diva Checkpoint podcast with me, Tyler Rosado. For more episodes, be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, if you've got something to say, we want you to be a guest on our show. Head over to bit.ly/CKI podcast for more information. Until next time, keep leading loud, CKI.